I'm going to be going. Bobby is out, but he should be available live a little bit later. He'll confirm that. I'm not going to be around much for the next couple of days. I'll try to put up projections as much as I can. As far as me being on camera or anything like that, probably not until later next week. But we will go ahead and do the whatchamacallit, the MLB preview at this early juncture. So what I did notice is that there are probably several pitching options. One that kind of stands out, and then you're going to have a real tough decision between, well, I mean, all your pitchers, but there's no real lock today. And as far as stacks go, we'll get to it, but there's one main stack which is going to project the best, and it's also going to be incredibly popular. So we're going to probably try to fade that. But I did come up with three, I think, actually five, but three main kind of leverage stacks that I want to recommend, at least at this early juncture. The good news is even though I see clouds and rains here, I don't think that there's significant weather risk, but obviously I encourage you to check back with that as the day goes on. For those of you who didn't notice, I put a Kentucky Derby preview, both of today's card and tomorrow's card, up on YouTube, and hopefully it made it to the site as well. I actually do like a horse a decent amount in the actual Derby, which I'll just leave it to you to go check that out when you see it, and it's going to be pretty long as well. That's pretty much all I have. Let's just kind of get into it. What's up, Travis? Let's just kind of get into it here game by game. So Boston, Philly, I consider both of these pitchers, Wheeler and Sale, as kind of, on my list, but sort of secondary options. Sale certainly is cheap enough that you want to probably consider him. He projects to be decent. I have him. I have two guys kind of near the top of my list, and I shouldn't say, I think Sale is very, very legitimately in play here. So let's consider him significantly in play. We'll put Wheeler maybe on the outside looking in. So that's where I am. I think Sale is reasonable. I'll put him up here. And as far as the hitting goes, I honestly don't have either of these teams, Boston or Philly, as one of my top stacks, either chalky or otherwise. So I think I'm just gonna move on to the next one. Colorado against the Mets. I actually do not have Senga listed as one of the top options, which is very surprising to me. I thought that I might, just because, he's got talent and he's home against Colorado, who obviously struggles on the road, but just kind of relying on my numbers here. I'm not really getting to him. And sometimes people ask, well, why don't you like him? Sometimes the answer is simply he just doesn't show up as a top projected play. And I don't really get into the drill downs of why that is, but that's just kind of where I am. Sanzatella, I'm not getting to him either. But what I am getting to are the Mets. And so the Mets for me are actually one of my three kind of leveragey type stacks. So you can, I guess, go to your, the usual suspects here. You don't need me to tell you who these are, but I'll tell you anyway. So you have Nimmo, Marte, Alonso, Lindor, McNeil, even Vogelbach. Usually just the regular cast of characters. I guess Vogelbach, lefty righty, makes a lot of sense. And what's cool about the Vogelbach play is then you don't have to play Alonso at 5,800. So that's one decision you're going to have to make, is if you play the Mets stack, of which of these guys that you use. But you'll probably play Lindor. He's really cheap relative to his chances here. Switch hitter, and then Nimmo, play him as well. He's lefty. He has the platoon. But then there's Marte and just the normal group. So I do think the Mets are a very, very solid kind of non-chalky option today. I'm going to keep going back to this horse race, which is going on, because this is Derby Day. Actually, it's not Derby Day, but it's Derby weekend. So we're going to continue to keep an eye on this. So we actually have a little bit of action here. We'll take a look at this. So in the fourth race here, we actually have the 4, the 8, 13, 6, 15. We have a lot of horses here, but we really don't want the 4 to win. The 13 would be all right at 9-1. So we'll keep an eye on that. As a matter of fact, maybe we'll just kind of wait to see what's going on there. The other thing I'll let you know is I'm doing pretty well in golf, with one exception. I mean, it's basically my big buy-ins are all doing pretty well, but boy, we're going to need a birdie from Cameron Young, one of the last 3 holes. Otherwise, he's really at risk of missing the cut here, which is really annoying because he's, first of all, he's pretty popular, and I have him in most of my big buy-in lineups. So this is actually a big putt, which he has to make here from off the fringe. He's putting for eagle, but I really just need him to sidle it up alongside the hole and have a tap in for par. I mean, for birdie. That's really all I'm looking for. So we'll keep an eye on that. But before that, I do want to look at this race over at Churchill, and I'm gonna have to be interrupted when something else kind of gets done here. They're showing the replay of a Morikawa thing in a second. Okay, so let's root for this. So we need the 4. I'll put it up here. 4, 8, 13 are the main ones, and then 6, 15. And I'm also looking at Cameron Young on the other side. It's sidling up, and it looks, I mean, it's not a gimme. I mean, it's like 3.5 feet away. This is a huge leverage putt on his 16th hole. So we're going to have to take a look. All right, so the 4 is, one of the favorites. Obviously, I'd rather him win than somebody I don't have. But the 13 here would be really, really strong if he can get this done. So he's sitting there 4th on the outside of this speed duel here. So if he's got it in him, doesn't look like he's really doing anything. So it looks like he might be dead, which is not good. And the 9 is looks to be almost putting the 4 away. So this is going to be very, this could be kind of terrible. Yeah, like all these horses I don't have are just kind of coming here. Unless the 4 fights back somehow, it just doesn't look like it. It's just too many horses weaving through here. I mean, there comes the 7's about to pop through. I mean, he's probably going to win, but I don't even know who some of these horses are that are coming. This is a crazy finish here. 11. Was that the 11 or the 12? It looks like the 12. So this is actually a terrible result here. Fannie and Freddie. That's really, really bad. So let me just tilt or whatever it is. And then okay, so let's get back into the baseball. Sorry about that. So Minnesota against Cleveland. You have Bailey Ober against Pete Battenfield, and I'm not getting to either of these guys. I just have better cheapos to go after. And in addition to that, the hitting, I'm just really not getting to that either. So this is probably going to be a pass for me. Moving on, we have Max Fried against Dean Kremer, Baltimore against Atlanta. And I actually do have Fried as, my second top option here. Now, he's normally not the kind of guy that you like to play in DFS because he usually doesn't have that strikeout upside normally. But in this particular situation, I mean, he's just showing up as a showing up as a really, really strong play. So that's pretty much all I have to say. So I do like Fried quite a bit. And the other team that I like is Atlanta. Ooh, good job. Cameron Young made the birdie. I do have Atlanta as one of my, again, I have 3 leverage stacks. One is the Mets. Actually, Atlanta is not really the leverage stack, but I do have them as one of my top 5. So let's just take a look. When I identify a stack I like, I may as well go through and see who I do like from here. And again, nothing fancy. Olsen, Acuna, Riley, Murphy, Albies. I mean, again, there's no real incredible standouts aside from the normal ones. Um, Freed, Sale, so far my top two, but we're going to probably replace those in a second. And, we probably won't be able to afford this stack with this pairing, but let's just throw some guys in there. Something to look at. Acuna, I have his day to day. He's going to be fine. All right. Well, let's see what happens. All right. Oakland against Kansas City. We have Brian Keller against Kurt Mueller, and I don't have either of these guys listed as viable. The interesting stack on the board today is Kansas City. Kansas City as the top-rated stack, both pretty much value and raw points, but boy, oh boy, I mean, I have them getting significantly high owned, and I don't think I want to do this. I mean, it's not like KC is like that great, so I don't know. KC does rate to be the top stack, but I will just tell you that in GPPs, I'm probably going to be fading them. So depends on how much risk you want to take. KC, again, does rate to be top stack, but as far as GPPs go, I'm probably going to avoid them. And I am not getting to Oakland today. So again, no pitchers and probably just Kansas City. But I probably will just will fade them. But Kansas City does rate to be a top play, if that makes any sense. All right, pitchers from Detroit and St. Louis. I do like Jordan Montgomery at 8,600. He is, again, kind of in that second tier. And again, at the end of the day, I might end up getting off of Freed just because of the lack of strikeout upside. And I do think Montgomery is a pretty strong play. What I do like as another leverage point is the St. Louis stack. Okay. Now, they honestly have not really done much recently, but nonetheless, Matt Boyd does tend to give up power, and we could find some good plays here. I mean, Arenado's like under 5K, Edmund switch hitting. You'll get, Goldschmidt reasonable enough. So even DeJong, if he gets in at 2,700, you can certainly play him. So I think the St. Louis stack here, I think, is very, very strong. So I like St. Louis as kind of a leverage stack. And then I do like Montgomery so much as a pitcher. I do like Montgomery as a pitcher. All right. Texas against the Angels. Pitching wise, Dane Dunning against Tyler Anderson. I do have actually Tyler Anderson listed as a cheapo that's worth considering. He's not my favorite of the cheapos, but I think in MMA, I think you can get to him. So I'll regard this as definitely playable. The hitting in this game, both sides, I'm getting to quite a bit. The Angels, a little bit more kind of like raw points. You're not getting that great value on them or anything like that, but I do like them. And Texas, I have as one of the other three leverage stacks. So alongside of the Mets and St. Louis, I actually do like the Texas side of this. It's a little expensive, so it's kind of hard to get to. And listen, you can get to Young easily, but then you are going to have to pay for guys like Garcia 5,700, guys like Semien at 5,700. So that's what's probably going to keep their ownership low. But you can play Jonah Heim at 3,900. So I like Texas a lot, and alongside of the Mets and St. Louis, those are probably my three favorite GPP stacks. And then the Angels kind of round out the stack. So they're not going to like any other stacks, throughout the course of the card here. So Texas, Mets, St. Louis, KC, Angels, and Atlanta. Moving on, LA, San Diego. I'm actually getting to neither of these. Well, am I not getting to Kershaw? I'm really not. I'm not really getting to Kershaw, and I'm really not getting to Darvish. I mean, I'm not going to debate it or anything like that. It's just, they're just, these other pitchers I'm getting are just a little bit better as far as their value today. So Kershaw and Darvish, no. And, however, they are both good enough to keep me off of the hitting. So no pitching, no hitting from this game for me. Washington against Arizona. I thought that I was going to actually like Josiah Gray as kind of a cheapo, and I actually might at the end of the day. He's got some good performances. He definitely has some variance, but I'll keep a look on him. And Merrill Kelly at 6,800. I mean, this got to be an amazing play, right? I mean, he does have good upside from time to time, and he's home against Washington. I mean, so he's not projecting all that great, but I don't know. I kind of like him. So I do have some interest in both of these cheapos in this game. Houston, Seattle, likewise. I like both the pitchers in this game as well. Luis Castillo, 10K. Javier, 9,700. I do have them a little bit below. Well, I shouldn't say that. I have them pretty much equal to each other. So you have Sale, Castillo, Javier, talked about Fried. Pretty much all the pitching is coming from these later games. Like even this last, and so it's like this last game, for example, Burns and Minaya. Minaya I have is probably overall the best, point per dollar play on the overall slate at 5,600. And yet I have Burns as a very, very strong pitching option on the other side, kind of a spend up. So for me, I mean, just to kind of wrap things up and doing it, obviously really, really slowly. I went through really quickly, but the pitching is mostly coming from the late games, right? You got Burns and Minaya over here. You got Javier and Castillo over here, and even these two pitchers late. And then the hitting is coming from the earlier games. Texas and the Angels, St. Louis, Kansas City, if you want to go chalky, Atlanta, Mets. So I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting the way this kind of slate kind of spreads out. Again, I don't really have too much drill down, so if this is too short, whatever, it is what it is. That's kind of my early look. If you want a more in-depth look, I mean, I'm sure Goldie's putting something up, and he always gets way into the weeds, so you could listen to him on that. And hopefully Bobby will show up later. There's no particular questions in here. I am going to be going. There it is. Somebody had a question about Minaya. I think I answered that. And I guess that'll do it. Good luck, everybody, and good luck this weekend. And